Welcome students, myself Dr. Rupashri Kadu. In this video lecture, we are going to learn instrumentation of ESR spectrometer. This is the schematic diagram of ESR spectrometer. The most important part of this ESR spectrometer is microwave source. It is also known as a klystron microwave source. Next is the circulator. Next is the cavity of the spectrometer, and N and S pole is used for the generation of the magnetic field. Then cryostat is used, and finally the detector. Here listed the most important parts of ESR spectrometer. First part is the klystron source. Second part is the waveguide. Third part is the attenuators. Fourth part is the isolators. Fifth part of ESR spectrometer is sample cavity. Sixth part is the magnet system. Seventh part is the modulation coil. Eighth part is the coupler and matching screws. Ninth part is the crystal detectors, and the last part, that is 10th part, is the display device. So these are the most important parts of the ESR spectrometer. In next, we are going to discuss each of these parts in more details. So first part is the klystrons, that is the source of microwave radiation. The klystron tube acts as a source of radiations. It is stabilized against temperature fluctuations by immersion in an oil bath or by forced air cooling. The frequency of the monochromatic radiation is determined by the voltage applied to klystron. It is kept a fixed frequency by an automatic control circuit and provides a power output of about 300 milliwatts. Next part is the waveguide. It is also known as wave meter. The wave meter is put in between the oscillator and attenuator to know the frequency of microwaves produced by klystron oscillator. The wave meter is usually calibrated in frequency unit megahertz instead of wavelength. Waveguide is hollow rectangular brass tube. It is used to convey the wave radiation to the sample and crystal. The next part of this ESR spectrometer is attenuator. The power propagated down the waveguide may be continuously decreased by inserting a piece of resistive material into the waveguide. The piece is called variable attenuator. It is used in varying the power of the sample from the full power of klystron to one attenuated by a force 100 or more. Next part is the isolators. Its device which minimizes vibrations in the frequency of microwaves produced by klystron oscillator. Isolators are used to prevent the reflection of microwave power back into the radiation source. It is a strip of ferrite material which allows microwaves in one direction only. It also stabilizes the frequency of klystron. Next important part of ESR spectrometer is sample cavity. The heart of ESR spectrometer is the resonant cavity containing the sample. The sample is contained in a resonance cavity. Rectangular TE120 cavity and cylindrical TE011 cavity have widely been used. In most of the ESR spectrometers, dual sample cavities are generally used. This is done for simultaneous observation of sample and reference material. Since magnetic field interacts with the sample to cause spin resonance, the sample is placed where the intensity of magnetic field is greatest. Next part is the magnet system. The resonant cavity is placed between the poles pieces of an electromagnet. The field should be stable and uniform over the sample volume. The stability of field is achieved by energizing the magnet with a highly regulated power supply. The ESR spectrum is recorded by slowly varying the magnetic field through the resonance condensed by sweeping the current supplied to the magnet by the power supply. Next part of the ESR spectrometer is modulation coil. The modulation of the signal at a frequency consistent with good signal noise ratio in the crystal detector is accomplished by a small alternating variation of the magnetic field. The variation is produced by supplying an AC or alternating current signal to modulation coil oriented with respect the sample in the same direction as the magnetic field. If the modulation is of low frequency, that means 400 cycle per second or less, the coils can be mounted outside the cavity and even on the magnet pole pieces. But for higher modulation frequencies, modulation coils must be mounted inside the resonant cavity or cavities constructed of a non-metallic material, that means cords with a tin silver plating. Next part of the ESR spectrometer is couplers and matching screws. The various components of the microwave assembly to be coupled together by making use of prizes or slots of various sizes. Next part is the crystal detectors. A silicon crystal detectors which converts the radiation in direct current has widely been used as detector of microwave radiation. And the last part of the ESR spectrometer is display devices. In order to observe the signal, a system is connected to the PC. This is the diagram or picture which showing the setup of ESR spectrometer in laboratory. Next important part is the applications of the ESR spectroscopy. Now, ESR spectroscopy is also known as the EPR spectroscopy. This ESR or EPR spectroscopy is highly applicable in the field of biology. Also, it is applicable in the field of psychology. Also, the pharmacology use this ESR spectroscopy. In the field of the agriculture, the ESR spectroscopy is used. In field of food science, in field of medicine, in field of the material science, in field of the physics, in branch of chemistry and the biochemistry, this ESR is highly applicable. Only direct method to detect the presence of free radicals and to identify the paramagnetic species provided information on molecular structure near the unpaired electrons. EPR spectra line shape gives insight to dynamic process, molecular motions or fluidity. Probes the structure of active sites in metalloproteins. In medicinal field, the dose measurement for sterilization of medical goods and foods. In the food industries, the detection of irradiated foods, this ESR spectroscopy is applicable. Enzymes catalyzed by biological redox reaction can be studied by the ESR spectroscopy. The ESR spectroscopy is used to study the transition metal complexes in field of the chemistry. Also, it is used to study the N-type semiconductors, and the ESR spectroscopy is also used to study the presence of organic and inorganic radicals. Thank you for watching this video.